Stay a while and listen. I want to tell you a story about the ROG Ally X by ASUS. Over a month with this handheld now, and it has quickly become one of my absolute favorite Windows handhelds, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, I want to take you back. There was a time before I even enjoyed using Windows handhelds at all. I thought it was ridiculous that you had to manage your antivirus, that you have full Windows in here, you don't have a keyboard, you don't have any real great way of interacting with this. It's just not an operating system that pairs well with the handheld. We've had some different options come on the market, like the Anbernic Win600. It started to change a bit in my brain how I thought about x86 handhelds. I always said Android is really the way to go. I've since really enjoyed Linux handhelds, but x86 has always been this strange thing. I don't know how to explain it. It's just not really what I hope for. On Windows, generally, you are moving around, navigating a clunky UI, and then a game changer happened. Valve came on the market and said, hey, we're going to make a handheld, and they made the Steam Deck. And oh, this is just a breath of fresh air. It's everything I ever wanted. Turn it on, play your games. It's that simple. And I really thought nothing could dethrone my beloved Steam Deck, eventually upgrading to the OLED model, which is really the peak form, and my favorite x86 handheld. I've tried a bunch of them. I tried the Legion Go, I tried the original Ally. MSI came out with their Claw handheld. A little rough around the edges, but they moved the needle in their own way, such as making brilliant speakers. I mean, just the best audio experience I've had on a handheld. More and more of these handhelds started coming to market, and really nothing after Valve's release. I'm like, what's the point? I had a great time meeting ASUS at CES this year and making that connection. And so an opportunity knocked later in the year here, and they said, hey, do you want to come out to Taipei, Taiwan, check out our world headquarters, see what we've been up to, and take a look at the Ally X? I said, yes, let's do it. Not only that, but Computex was going on too, and so getting to see all these new handhelds coming out, getting to experience a new culture. I was there with some other YouTubers who I now call good friends. The Phawx, always there, quick-witted. ETA Prime, what a lovable teddy bear, great guy to be around. Baldly Rudy, just a sweetheart, and taking some of the best B-roll I've ever seen. And Cyber Dopamine, a new kid on the block who just really impressed me with his enthusiasm and passion for this and telling a story with his content. And so I want to shout out these awesome other creators and check out their channels. I'll put them in the link in the description down below. But we had a great time getting along, and we were all sort of in this foreign place together. And so we met up and we went to the ASUS World Headquarters, and they showed us around, and we got to see the prototyping for this new X model. We thought, okay, is this just a refresh? Is it a whole new handheld? They consider it a refresh, an update, but to me, it was a whole new handheld. I like the Ally okay. It's a little sharp in the corners, still a little clunky with Armoury crate back then. It's come a long ways. And then I unboxed the X, and I felt the rounded corners, the balanced weight, the IPS display, which hasn't changed. The shoulders, much improved Dpad, better travel on the face buttons, better sticks, better control on the sticks. A little bit tighter, not so loosey-goosey. And I thought to myself immediately, okay, you have my attention. I tried out the handheld, I filmed some footage, I released a video, and I thought this is really cool. And they said, okay, we're gonna send you a little bit further along pre-production in a few weeks, and then send you the final retail, which is the unit I have today, and I've had it for about a month testing now. You know, I wanted time to digest this handheld and really spend quality time with it. The Ally X and many of these bring some different refinements. You can install Bazzite, so it is more like the Steam Deck, and you can play more just pick up and play mode. But I didn't even install Bazzite on the Ally X. Sure, yeah, I know now that we have SteamOS compatibility that's coming, and we can load that on, but I don't even want to do that. ASUS made absolutely phenomenal Armoury crate software that really fools me into believing that I'm not on a Windows handheld most of the time. You still have access to the desktop. You're still gonna see a lot of Windows jank if you look and peek behind the curtain. For the most part, you can boot up right into Armoury Crate, launch Steam in big picture mode, and you're off and away and playing. Plus you have their really nice controls for tuning the TDP levels, the power levels, getting minimal power draw for those retro games. My other biggest complaint on Windows handhelds has been the battery life has been atrocious. I'm like, well, let's just use Android. And many of these others, the MSI Claw, very poor battery life, Win600, fairly poor battery life. And there's been a slew of others. The original Ally was decent, Legion Go is pretty short. Steam Deck OLED moved the needle as far as giving us more battery life, and they do a great job at that. But having an 80 watt-hour battery on the Ally X has been an absolute game changer in usability across the board. This has been not only something that I've been able to play on and off indie games, some AAA retro games. I'm playing it on and off in short spurts and sessions over the course of, God, I don't know, a week and a half, and I still have not charged it. It just lasts a long time. It gives you lots of leeway. You don't have that battery anxiety, and that was just something that really impressed me. I didn't realize how big of a difference 80 watt hours would make combined with lower TDP testing on here. Now, I'm not going to get into specs in this video. This is really a story time, final thoughts with Stubbs on the Ally X. This is more of just sharing my experience. So I'm going to show performance specs anytime I show gameplay on this new model. You'll see a TDP, you'll see a FPS counter. I haven't hard tested exact batteries. I'm going to leave that to just the more apt channels like Retro Tech Dad that I linked below. He does just some phenomenal job with testing the battery, the Phawx, and many of my other friends who I went with to Computex. But all that to say is this has been a lot of fun to play on, and I've lost countless and countless hours. I want to say my longest play session was something like interrupted with pauses, sleep, and all that, but I want to say that somewhere around the ballpark of 12 hours. But we're not here to talk about specs. We're here to talk about experience and is it worth buying and how has it been. So here's the thing, is that I have not touched my Steam Deck OLED very much in the last month. I've touched the MSI Claw because of its awesome speakers, which kind of blew my mind, and just that sort of novelty of it. And I want to talk about the Claw more. I'm going to make a dedicated video. I think it's worth considering at the price point, but we're not here to talk about the Claw. I want to take you back to Taipei again. While we were there, the main focus was not really on the Ally X. The brand was very much concerned with their public image and what was going on behind the scenes with the GamersNexus, who we actually almost ran into right here, but he was there and he took them to task on their warranty process and their RMA kerfuffles. ASUS said, "We understand, we hear you," and they immediately launched a whole campaign to say, hey, we're going to do better. We're not going to outsource to this third party without these strict requirements. They said, hey, we're going to tell you what happened with the micro SD cards frying in the original unit. Come to find out, they didn't fry. They were undervolting, corrupting data. You could reformat the card and it would still work. Luckily, again, I'm here to say that I've not had the issue on the new Ally X model. That really was their focus, and it's like, I remember being there and, for one, impressed by the fact they're making a new Ally X pillow, okay? I guess they're making a new one in black, so let me call that out.
Yeah, so this is our ROG Ally pillow, and with the launch of the ROG Ally X,
yes,
I think we're certainly thinking about making this, make a sibling to it, the Ally X pillow.
Are we gonna have better ergonomics on the new pillow?
Yes, with rounder edge, like better control your hand and better joystick and everything. Yeah.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
No problem.
We're very excited. We're very excited from our pillow. Stay tuned for the new pillow refresh, and also the X, which is really cool as well. While the focus was on the X, there really was a bigger focus on wanting to do better for the customers. I did not buy this with my own money. This is a review unit. I have not had to return this. I have not had to interact with customer service. I have had many ASUS products over the course of my lifetime that I have bought with my own money, that I've never had any warranty or RMA, so I've yet to ever interact with that process, so I can't speak to that. What I can say is seeing the personalities and the people who work for the company I was generally impressed with the professionalism that I saw there, and I'm wondering, all this controversy, why not focus on what's being done right? And there are some admirable things to really call out, such as this 80 watt-hour battery on here, 24 gigs of RAM, bumping it up to a 1 terabyte for the hard drive, but they caused further waves by saying, hey, we're going to increase the price on this model by $100, but in tandem drop the price on the original unit, on the original Ally. But it's still $800 is a big price tag when you're considering a fun handheld to just pick up and play games. And so it might not make sense for a lot of people. You're above Steam Deck OLED territory there. You're way above more casual systems like the Nintendo Switch, even the PS5. You know, you're $300 beyond that if you want a console. Does spending $800 on a Windows handheld make sense? What I've come away with is the fact that if you are going to only buy one handheld and nothing else, no Android, no Linux, no Steam Deck, one beastly device that will get you through pretty much all of your games at this point in time, I would say the ROG Ally X is that handheld right now. It is just very, very, very good. And again, these reviews are my own. I am not paid to say anything positive, negative. In fact, I've taken ASUS to task on a number of occasions, especially with their first Ally. The Dpad was awful, the battery life, the sharp corners, just none of it really came together very well for me. Yeah, ergonomics wise, Steam Deck is king. So, you know what? I think if this joystick was a little bit set in like the Steam Deck's and the D-pad was up here, this might be a little more comfortable. The face buttons are a little bit of a reach for my thumbs. I don't love the ergonomics of this where they've placed things. And while we were there, they took further feedback from us reviewers and said, hey, what do you want the Ally 2 to look like? And we all said, hey, give us an OLED screen, keep that VRR if you can, give us SteamOS. And so, hey, now that's happening, right? So we'll do a video on that when it's time, and that'll be a lot of fun. But everything about this handheld has been a joy since the moment I started using it. But not everything has been rainbows and sunshines. A fairly minor complaint, but you can only get these LEDs on these sticks. You can turn them off, or you can have them here at this brightness setting, which is 33%, and it's all or nothing there. It's a bummer because that's very bright and playing in bed at night. Likewise, we don't get the OLED display. It is a nice IPS, it is a crisp IPS, but it is not perfect. VRR does come in handy though. And believe it or not, weight-wise, this is actually the heaviest of all the Windows handhelds that I have here. It's actually the heaviest of all of these. It feels on par with the Steam Deck OLED. It does not feel that heavy, so they balanced it in a really smart way. Also, I have to say, while the speakers are very good, once I started using the MSI Claw, I realized just, oh my god, if you're an avid audio listener and you really enjoy game soundtracks, the Ally X has great treble, great mid-range, pretty good bass, but the body's smaller and it's a little bit slimmer, and so you're not getting as much oomph in your hands. You're not feeling it as much, and that's one thing we're going to talk about in the MSI Claw video. Just they did a great job on the speakers, though you can tune them on here, and you can use their software here to kind of get it dialed into your liking. And so the speakers, I'm now almost to MSI Claw level while losing some of that bass. So really nice speakers. Now I want to give you some of my final thoughts on each of the components of the device. This is sort of a long-winded, I don't know, overview. I think the specs for the price is worth the money. If we believe and trust ASUS on their claims for their warranty, then you should be able to get this repaired if you run into issues. Now we have to trust in that, and like I was saying earlier, I have not used it myself. I can't speak to that. I can't back that. What I can say is you can pick one up from Best Buy, you can return it to Best Buy if you don't enjoy it. But some of my final thoughts on the pricing. Yes, it's expensive, okay. Only one SKU this time. Good, keep it simple. The shell finish and feel is just a really nice matte plastic, feels good in the hands. It has a grippy, kind of gritty back to it, and overall the shell just feels very high quality to me. It feels similar to the MSI Claw shell. Both of them use a very high quality plastic. Higher quality than the Win600, only bested by the Steam Deck OLED, which I feel is just slightly better plastic. But it's a very slight feeling. I'm not getting glossiness or fingerprints on here, and I appreciate that. On the buttons and sticks front, yes, these sticks are not Hall sticks, but they performed very well in my testing, and I've not had any drift. The control has been tight, and all of the movements in my games have been smooth. The D-pad, they've really fixed their issues with the D-pad, and this is a well-usable D-pad, but still probably not my favorite. Like I was saying before my last video, I think something like the AYN Loki really is my favorite D-pad style for these x86 devices, but it is a good improvement and it does its job well. Face buttons, yeah, you know what? It's really not going to blow your mind versus the original Ally, but they did raise it by 2mm, and you can feel that, and the travel feels good, and they're very usable. And I like just visual-wise, I like the kind of, I don't know, they almost look like pieces of candy. Like I kind of like that visual aspect to the buttons. The ergonomics on the device have been impressive. You have just enough of a bump out to where they feel like you can grab onto it and you have a good grasp, and they don't cramp my hands. And that's been another complaint of some of these handhelds, is that they do cramp my hands after time. Win600 is much worse in this regard. Steam Deck OLED, believe it or not, for everything I love about it, the ergonomics for my hands, I can't use it for very long play sessions. It drives me crazy because I love it. I love the thing, but I can't use it for a very long time, and I can use the Ally X for quite a bit longer than I can the Deck OLED. The only ergonomics that I would say I like a little bit better in some kind of way is actually the MSI Claw. When their new Lunar Lake model comes out, the new Claw revision, I want to see how they perform the X versus that, because they're both going to have 80 watt-hour batteries now, and I think they're going to be on a more level playing field. So I'm really just excited what MSI and ASUS are bringing to the table here. All these other players are getting in the game. A few other shout-outs to XPG and their new Nia device.
What's going on, everybody? Stubbs here from Retro Handhelds. We're here today at XPG A-Data, looking at the new XPGA Nia. This is going to run a version of Proton from Linux. We're finally getting another handheld besides the Steam Deck that's actually going to have freaking awesome Proton support, easy UI. I love that. So it's a 7-inch screen, and we're looking at 16 gigs of RAM as a base. It's rocking the new AMD Z1 Extreme processor. And look at this back, man. Look at this matte plastic, beautiful purple. There's going to be a plate here that you can open up and upgrade your components right from the back, so you don't need to open it up. There's going to be M1, M2, M3, M4. You got intake back here. You got the vents. Let's do a vent smell. Oh, that is an exquisite vent smell, 100%.
The Zotac Zone. All right, Gary, what do you think? What's your quick thoughts on the...
Okay, so check this out. They don't want you to actually see this.
Oh, no.
Ready? So we go to settings, right?
Okay.
And then we go to system, and then we go to display, and then we go to advanced display. Look at that, active signal mode. What does that tell you?
Vertical panel.
That's right, portrait panel.
Oh, no.
Mother effers, I mean.
Is this tweet worthy? We'll see.
Look at this, watch, ready? They say it's 120Hz panel. Whoopsie doodle.
Oh no, 60 hertz. If you wanted to know more about either the Zotac Zone or XPG Nia, I can make more content on those. I have thoughts, I have opinions, but we'll save a lot of it for when we actually have a review unit in hands to talk about. So yeah, we already talked about the weight, and so the weight is well balanced here. It's not as light as the original Ally. If you want the lightest feeling Windows handheld, of all the ones I've tested, definitely the original Ally was that. And looking at software and settings, you know, Armoury Crate started a little bit rough, and the one I used, especially in the beta testing on the pre-production, was very rough. It was not ready for prime time at the time. I could not get things to work correctly, but since then they've iterated quite a bit. They've sent lots of new versions to try out and test, and we're sitting here today with a very stable software. I will not go over all of them today. If you want to check out my coverage of all the new things you can find in Armoury Crate, I did that in my previous Ally X video, which you can find in the description below. Likewise, if you want my initial first impressions from Taipei, that'll be in the description as well, so you can get the full suite of thoughts. Others on our team also have Ally X thoughts coming, so stay tuned for that. We have Andrew on our website, we have Jelanimal, who's published on our website, and we have Mr. Zoo of Zoo Reviews, who is just head over heels for the Ally X and pairing it with various XR glasses. Shout out to my future XR glasses videos, because I have X-Real and Feature Pros, and we have stuff to talk about there, but we need to focus in this video, right? Come on, Stubbs, focus. Let's focus. Right, but looking at the software and settings, they really have come into their own here, and like I said, this is, you know what, this is very impressive. I almost want to kick my earlier self for being so critical of Windows handhelds and tossing the category out entirely because of how far this has come along. I can use Windows in here. I don't even want to use necessarily Bazzite or SteamOS. I'm going to try them out and see, but they've optimized drivers so well here. They have configured everything to just be a nice all-in-one package. Plus, the nice thing about having Windows is that you can easily play your GOG games, your Epic games. You can access anything that you can in Windows. You can do lots of modding, customizing. You can use it as your all-in-one PC. Attach a keyboard, get a mouse on there, and just use it for productivity. You can load spreadsheets up to wazoo. 24 gigs of RAM is going to get you quite a ways with your spreadsheets. The sleep testing has been great. I've been able to put it to sleep for multiple days. Come back to it. Really haven't lost much, if any, battery. Some of the deep sleep options are just fantastic, and it's all in Armoury Crate. You can update your software, everything from there, and really all in one, so you don't need to navigate out and around to Windows. So thank you for that. The screen quality is a high quality IPS with VRR, the refresh rate going up to 120 here, and brightness getting very bright and getting very dim. It's a great handheld to play in bed at night as long as you turn off those LED sticks. It has been an awesome handheld to play outside, right in the bright sunlight even, in the car, on trips. It's one I've been able to take with me, lounge on the couch. It's been very multi-purpose, and playing any retro game or PC game that I have wanted to so far. There is no speaker buzz or noise to speak of as far as the speakers go, but you do have fans. The fans are not as loud and obnoxious as some of these other handhelds. I would say that they're fairly tame, and you can tune them to your desired setting. D-pad and joysticks in-game testing, you know what, Street Fighter here has been pretty solid. I've been able to pull off those Hadoukens without too much of a fuss. Likewise, on the joysticks, first-person shooters have finally made sense. They make sense well on the Steam Deck OLED, but not so much on the Win600 and some of these others, so I'm impressed with the sticks here. Gameplay experience of PC games in general has been very pleasant. You are starting to push some of the upper limits of the device when you play games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3. So you have this feature called RSR, which lets you set everything in the device to 720p, and then it's going to intelligently upscale that to 1080p to the device's native 1080p resolution. This lets you get away with playing games like Elden Ring on even above lowest settings, and you can hit 60 FPS. And with all of your retro games, that's going to save you performance, battery life, while taking just the slightest visual hit, and it is so slight to the point where I really don't notice it. When it comes to retro games, this has been a champ. Here I'm just finally getting around to scraping all the games on here. I just got right into playing them. But you want to scrape and have all your box art and all that, right? So if you're going to play retro games, I highly recommend installing EmuDeck. EmuDeck is free to download. You can support them on their Patreon if you want to get the full feature set, but much of what you need is going to be built in with this version, and it gives you either Pegasus, Steam ROM Manager for launching right from Steam itself, or you can launch your games from Emulation Station, which is what I prefer here, and it works like a charm, and it has my entire library in there. I've had multiple SD cards I've tried from very fast SanDisk Extreme cards down to the 1.5 terabyte card, which is a little bit slower. None of them have had corruption issues, all my ROMs work fine, and I'm able to play up to Xbox, Xbox 360, Wii U, Wii, Switch, Vita, PS2, GameCube, N64, I mean, you name it, you can play it on here. This is really your one and done for retro gaming. The first Ally was pretty warm, especially on the screen, and it got hot. They've added additional vents here. There's a vent up top to vent out some of that additional heat that would otherwise go on the screen. So the screen, while it gets warm, does not get hot. And where your hands are going to be on the back does not get scorching hot either, does not get really even warm, even if you're pushing the TDP up. And so I found that very impressive. That's hard to do because these other handhelds, it's hard to claim that. Steam Deck does very well. MSI Claw does fairly well. But it can be tough to manage the heat and the temps. And so I think that's another thing to call out that works well here. The battery itself, yeah, at the 80 watt hours, it's just, and now in the future, if I can get my focus down, I'd like to test full battery tests. But again, I think we can check out some other reviews on if you want the specifics, the nerdy deep dive stuff. I don't know. I just use it and play on it, and I have a blast. I can play on it for hours, for days, for my use case, for really up to a week or more, and just throw on a quick indie game, get through a level, boom, good to go. So now we're getting to the end of the journey. My time with the Ally X has been very special. It involved a trip that meant a lot to me. It involved seeing a handheld come from its pre-production state, prototyping phase, all the way up to final release, and just getting that experience has been cool. And you say, well, does that color your love of the device or a bias towards the device? And I'm here to say, if it sucked, then it just sucks. I can say thanks, thanks for inviting me out. I had a fun trip. Let me check out your next handheld. And I let them know on plenty of occasions I didn't love the first one so much. But this has been one I've truly adopted, and it's one that I'm going to be using for a long time to come. I don't know how much else there is to improve beyond just the chipset and the display. I think we can add a little more body to the device. Maybe we can make it a little thicker so we can get a bigger bass sound out of those speakers, man. Oh, that's going to be good. But if you're interested in picking one of these up, I really think Best Buy is going to be your best bet. Best bet, Best Buy? Yeah. Go, Best Buy is where you're going to want to go. You try it out, see if it's for you, keep it or not. But if you are interested in that, check for open box units. You can save a bunch of money that way, and while the early Gen 1 device open box weren't always the prettiest because of that white shell, you got some schmutz in there. I don't know, I clean it up. This shell shouldn't bother you as much visually, but I would still clean it. But you can save some money. Likewise, the x86 used market, especially in our Discord, sells things for pretty cheap. If you want to get x86 handhelds for cheap, definitely join our Discord, check us out. And that is also in the description. People are offloading a lot of Gen 1 Allies right now. We're seeing those in the 2 and 300s, depending on the model number. So the Z1 Extreme chip in here, same as the original. It works, it plays, we know what it can do. Check out my other videos if you want to learn more and have me talk more about testing. And if you're looking for alternative options, we've talked about a couple here. I really think the Steam Deck OLED is still probably the best overall x86 experience, but it doesn't have wide compatibility. And so if we're talking about the best Windows handheld, not the best 86, but the best Windows handheld, the only one that you need, I truly think right now that is the ROG Ally X. And if you want something cheap, I picked up this Win600 from Anbernic. This is the 3020E model for $100. I mean, and this plays all the same indie games that these all play. You're just not going to really be able to enjoy much of the higher end PC stuff. But for retro games and for a lot of indie titles, man, this is not bad. I still really enjoy the Win600. I've always kind of had a thing for it. It really is the thing that opened my eyes a bit for Windows handhelds. And so check it out if you're interested. I believe they still sell this. I'll put a link up for it. But if you can find one used, there's some great deals out there. Well, everybody, What's your thoughts on the Ally X? Is this one ultimately that you want to pick up? I hope you've enjoyed Storytime with Stubbs. Let me know if you enjoy videos of this style. I could try more like this. It's nice to break things up. We don't always need to just say, hey, we're going to unbox it and I'll talk about it. I'll do like a let's play game session through the emulation showcase stuff and then we get out of here. Sometimes sitting down and telling a story can be fun. And so having said all that, is it worth your $800? Save those pennies, because this really is the one. This is the beast that does it all. The one outlier is, and check out GamersNexus videos, because you should be aware of some of the concerns that have been out there about ASUS as far as their return policies go. Now, their main focus really was on improving those, and so we'll see. In practice, we'll get reports, you'll see it on Reddit, you'll know, and we'll see if they stuck to their word. But, all in all, this is one I would feel comfortable just buying with my money and feeling confident in it. And anyways, if they don't fix it, now I know where they live. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share to stay in the know for all of your favorite retro handhelds. And a special thanks to our channel members, patrons, and subs for making this channel possible. Perks with RH start for as little as $3 a month. Join us in our Discord to chat and play games. Enjoy your handhelds. Let me know in the comments below what you've been using, what you've been enjoying. And until the next one, this has been Stubbs with RH. Take care of those handhelds, everybody. And each other. Bye.
So that's your thing.
Mentality.
Yeah. Well, think about it.
Yeah,
Blood's
Miles,
just
have the blood.
Yeah.
Take two.
You guys are
Look
you're
at
like
it congealed over
acting
you.
as if
What?
I'm crazy for not knowing that blood can turn gray.
It's congealed blood.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, it does. In fact, it already did.
Blood sausage.
It does in blood sausage.
Dude, you have blood in your body, man.